Thank you. I know we all want to get to lunch, so I'll be very brief and quick. So I myself am a victim of Superstorm Sandy. I live in Lindenhurst, South Shore town on Long Island. We were told to evacuate many times. Irene the previous year didn't do much damage in our community, so a lot of the residents, just blew it off Sandy as, just another Irene. What's the worst that could happen? I like to start always, with this photo I took, and this is pretty much sums up the rebuilding process now on Long Island. You can see the home, it's being raised significantly, and this is right on the, the Great South Bay. So this has become a common occurrence in a town like Lindenhurst, in Freeport, Massapequa, all the South Shore communities are starting to look like this. This is a picture, not the best picture. That's the only thing I look back on. I should have took more photos during the night of the storm, because we did stay. I tried to doctor up this photo as much as possible. This is the flood water, about 4 to 5 feet in the street, and it was washing up on my front porch, which this is the point where I was standing. This is a few hours before the water started rising. It rose about at 9 o'clock, maybe 3 feet in 15 minutes time. So it was really very scary to sit at home, and you couldn't really do anything. We smelled the smoke. The prevailing winds brought smoke throughout the town, right through my house. The house 2 houses down from me actually burned to the ground. They actually rebuilt a totally new house, all in modular construction. So it was pretty cool. They paid for it all themselves. They didn't really go through New York Rising, which may have been the smart thing to do. But photos of the garage. That's when it was rising pretty fast. This was also a common occurrence. Looting was a major issue. There was no real protection. There was curfews every night. We had to show our identification to go down because there was no power, super dark. Law enforcement didn't know who was coming back. So things like this started to pop up everywhere. So I was a thesis student, and a recent graduate here. I graduated last May. But during the storm, we had the unique opportunity as students to come together, and we didn't have red tape, we didn't have politics involved. We were just students, that wanted to give back and try and help. So this is a picture of us. We organized initial tour with Scott Kemmons, the buildings commissioner of Long Beach, and a man named John from Nassau County Office of Emergency Management. So they really got us going. We organized a tour. We saw all the devastated areas, the West End in particular in Long Beach. So from there, we started Operation Resilient Long Island, and our first initiative was this informational pamphlet. We wanted to give property owners a sense of what they can do, how to start, who do you call? At that point, New York Rising wasn't really anything really yet. So we tried to diagram out, what their home could look like if it was raised 6 to 10 feet. It's a major change in their lives and a major change for the communities. And we were really focused on the community aspect. What if you take all these homes, you raise one 10 feet, one stays on the ground because they don't have money. The next one gets raised 14 feet. So really looking at the neighborhood and community aspect of what elevating homes really means for the community. This is on our website. I'll show that later. It was released online and in print, and we tried to go out to these communities as much as possible and hand this pamphlet out. So, our main initiative was the 3C Comprehensive Coastal Communities Competition. It was the first post-Sandy competition in the tri-state area. We didn't have funding like Rebuild by Design does, even though, they do amazing work. And I really look up to Hank. Too bad he can't be here to see this, but we've been in contact with him. We worked with Rebuild by Design. Our publication, which some of you may have now from the table outside, we gave that to Hank, and they used that as a resource for the Rebuild by Design teams. So we had over 300 entrants from 20 countries, and we narrowed that down to 60 finalists. So we sort of cataloged all those ideas into what we call like a database of resilient ideas. And we had submissions, on all scales from we asked participants to first do research in these coastal towns, wherever you want in the tri-state area, so they get a feel of what those communities look like and how people react to things like Sandy and Irene. and then take either their research, or they can even design a new typology for the area. And what does it mean to raise a house in a community? What does it mean to raise 500 homes in one area? And there, we dealt with social and social aspects and political aspects of that. So this is a photo of our book, the 3C Playbook. This includes all of our diagrams. And we also have in here a chapter dedicated to, building blocks for resilient reconstruction. So if you flip through that, you can see we tried to narrow down these tools for resilience into 5 building blocks. And it goes in depth, and we show examples from every proposal for each building block. So this is the first place winner, a group of students, recent graduates from Northwestern University, Adaptive Urban Habitats. They looked at a standard kit of parts. They used wooden construction produced locally, and they thought about future development up to 2,300. The second place winner was from Pratt Institute and members of the PDRN, the Pratt Disaster Resilience Network, which we were good partners with Orly and 3C. So they looked at prefab housing, and they rezoned areas of Red Hook and Coney Island and parts of southern Brooklyn. And then the third place winner, you can see some of these boards outside. This is called Hardcore, and they envision communities directly adjacent to the ocean in what FEMA calls the V zones, the velocity wave action zones. They use the existing boardwalk, which is really cool. It's a less dense version for somewhere like New York City, but I think something like this could be a potential for future development in these areas. The 3C process, we tried to come up with new roles for the architect. How can we give back? How can we get the public involved more? So as students, again, we had this great opportunity to do this and to show people what students can do as emerging professionals. So we had a public voting campaign. We had over 250,000 people visit our website within a month period. We got a lot of people voting, and you can see the stats just start to skyrocket as soon as we opened up the public voting. So this is where we're trying to go. We have a global and national aspect and a local aspect. Our local aspect, we have a lot of help from, future help from Architecture for Humanity, Green Space, New York City, and community organization in Lindenhurst, Adopt a House. We've been trying to help inform people about New York Rising changes along the way, because it keeps changing every week, so we have to keep on top of that. And our global national, which we're still in the works, but we had an exhibition go up to Boston. We had the winners present their work at a resilience exhibition. One of our committee members is traveling Australia, New Zealand, trying to figure out how to get response and awareness activism out there in the Philippines from the typhoon. This kind of thing will keep happening with climate change, so it's very important. And another big thing, we're trying to do a traveling workshop and exhibition with Green Space New York City, and we're trying to bring that out to Long Island and places like the Rockaways. So we bring these ideas to the people. If we have to dumb it down even more so people really understand what needs to happen and what needs to change in their communities. This is some photos from Boston. And my work with Perez Architecture now, we are working with the Build It Back program in New York City, and also New York Rising on Long Island. So this is one of my things I took on at the office. We tried to diagram the New York Rising strategy and how we're approaching it. We have to explain to the homeowner, all the money's in your hands now, so you have to hire whoever you want. New York Rising used to have an approved architect and contractor list, which we were on. But since they opened up the playing field, anyone can be hired now. So is it something we want to do? We're still not sure how we're going to proceed with this kind of thing. But if and when we do, we explain to the homeowner with these diagrams how the architecture can proceed, through building codes, through construction documents, because this is a really good opportunity as well for architects, because most people don't know what we do. Many times because not a lot of residential communities have the money to hire an architect to do a lot of our services. So this is another great opportunity architects can have in the future with rebuilding. So again, just in conclusion, innovation of the process is really key. That's what Orly tried to do. We tried to innovate how architects can, make some waves out in the public, and public outreach, is really a good asset you have. And, my ultimate goal is to eliminate politics from this equation, but that doesn't seem that's going to happen anytime soon. So thank you, and let's enjoy lunch.